Alright class, welcome back to another session, and in today's session we'll be learning about writing emails, memos, and letters as a part of our business communication course. So chapter learning, when you have completed this chapter, you should be able to plan good news, bad news, and persuasive messages, write in correctly format emails and memos, format letters correctly, write instructions, directions, and requests, grant and reject requests while keeping the recipient's goodwill. Determine your reader's reaction. I mean, again, if you go back to my previous, lecture videos, where I did mention that you always put yourself in a reader's perspective. Recipients generally react in one of four ways: pleased, neutral, displeased, or little or no interest. Use one of three approaches for planning a message: direct, indirect, or persuasive. For a pleased or a neutral reaction, use the direct approach, stating the main point in the opening sentence. For a displeased reaction, use the indirect approach, beginning the message with a buffer. For a reaction showing little or no interest, use a persuasive approach and begin by getting the reader's attention with a hook. Now, message approaches, we have a direct approach: good news, supporting info, upbeat ending. Indirect message, you create a buffer, reasons, bad news, buffer. And persuasive approach, you have attention with gather, interest, desire, and action. Again, using of 6 C's, when you write an email or memos: clear, complete, concise, consistent, correct, courteous. Special formatting and mechanical techniques. Some suggestions include enumerate list of important items. You always jot down what is important you need to talk about. Use bullets to emphasize points when sequence is unimportant. Use bold, underline, italic, capitals, or centering to emphasize important details of the message. Use columns with headings to make reading and understanding easier. Use underlining or bold and side headings to show a natural breaks in a message. And they're saying exercise caution in using these techniques. Overuse reduces their effectiveness. So it shouldn't be like you have used a lot of bold messages, italic, bullet points to drop the interest of the reader. Organization of a written communication, the statement of the purpose, you always write it down, then the message, and the statement of future action. What do you expect? The body of the message should end with a statement of action or a request for further instruction, like a feedback. Advantages of written documents, provides the sender and receiver with a legal contract that is dated and can support a claim in court. So whenever you write to your reader, always make sure to use appropriate words. People attach more importance to a written document than a phone call. Letters are usually read in a private when the reader can concentrate on the message uninterrupted. So writing an email, writing a letter gives a reader quite time to read it and get back to you. Enclosures may be signed with a letter or memo attached to an email. If it's an important document, you want that reader to sign a contract, you attach as enclosures. A speedy method of ensuring several people receive identical information, like an email, you do CC or you do BCC. Writers can take the time to write and revise content in ways that maintain and build goodwill. Choosing the correct written document. Most business letters are sent to people outside the company. Memos are written to people inside the organizations. And emails are usually brief, informal messages limited to one topic. So the difference between memos, memos are internal communication. Emails sometimes, internal and external as well to clients. and letters, of course, has to go out of the business. Memos and letters may be sent in hard form or attached to emails for instant delivery. Confidential information should not be sent via email. A message can be retrieved from a server. It is easy to forward an email to someone who should not have an access to the information. So you have to be very careful in these days using an attachment, because sometimes the attachment might come with a virus, or people have an access to sensitive information, which they are not the recipient, but they might use it, in either way, which you do not want that the reader has to have an access to that. Writing emails and memos. Letters are printed on a letterhead and sent to recipient outside the organization. Now, electronic email or email is written communication, just like memos and letters, except it is 24/7. So at any point of time, you can write it down and it would be available. Sent to people both outside and inside the organizations. Memos are printed and sent to people within the organization. So you should know what is your audience, and then you choose the appropriate channel to communicate with them. Format for emails and memos. Both have basic parts: the heading and the body. The heading of a memo contains the guide words memo to, from, date, and subject. Email has a programmed heading. Just enter the email address and the subject. Courtesy titles are usually omitted on emails and memos. The memo to or to line contains the first and the last name of the person who receive a copy of the memo. Include job title when showing respect. In a large companies, include address information as well. Memos going to more than a few people include a C distribution, the to line, alphabetically list names at the end of the memo. And for email, using the correct email address is critical. Frequent emails to a group may utilize a distribution list or contact group. Let's say if you are sending an email to the group more often, like same people more often, so you can create a group. Same as like being a student. If there are more than one student, so instructor can use the email to create a list, contact list or group, to send one email to whole of the group with a subject that assignments due, important information, or an announcement. Formatting email and memos. Again, it's a continuation: the subject line, from line, subject line, the date line. Email subjects may include a first word of urgent, request, or for your FYI, for your information. So this is something, depending on the nature of the content, depending the nature of the reader, the sensitivity, you use those words. The body, the greeting. Memos begin with the first paragraph of the message, no salutations like Mr., Dear. Emails usually use a first name unless addressing your employer, instructor, or other elder. The message or a body, double space between heading and a body and between paragraphs. Many organizations have a house style for memos and emails. Like they have a structured way of communication, writing a memos, internally. Then the closing part of the email and memos, a complimentary closing such as sincerely is not necessarily on a memo or an email. The reference lines, 2 lines below the body of the memo and the left margin, the typist places the reference initials and any notations. The document name and the location may be added to this line. Signatures. Writers should sign each memo by writing their initials after the name on the form line. Many email programs have an auto signature feature that appears at the end of all emails. You can add signature on your email, personalized signatures. You would come across, and you have seen those while getting an email from institutions or from any businesses in these days. Email, limit the length, topic, and recipients. Limit the message to one topic and to brief a maximum of 25 lines. Send only to those who need the information. Watch the tone of your email. Avoid sarcasm, as it is often misinterpreted. Avoid all caps, all lowercase, small type. Do not use um, emoticons in a business, like emojis, right? You know, the happy smiley faces. Always read and proofread the email before it is sent. Do not send confidential information. Follow your company's email policy. It's an important thing to follow. Privacy, confidentiality. Again, writing an email, avoid spamming or sending unsolicited email to others, because once you send an email, it would go into the spam on the first. So be like, use a subject line, quite like what is relevant to the body, so that avoiding it's going into the spam and expecting that the email reply, you won't get it unless you need to phone the individual recipient that you send an email and doing a follow-up, as a courtesy call. Reply to emails. Respond to urgent emails upon reading them and respond to those requiring answers by the end of the day. Type the answer above the original message or within the body. Like if somebody asks you, what is the best way to reach from point A to point B, so highlight that and reply your feedback under it, so that the individual reading the body, the question and answer should be down, or you can highlight the answers. Do not reply all if the answers need to go only to the sender. So this is also an important thing, that rather reply all, it would get in to the inboxes to all of the recipients. So always read it and reply to individual who is looking for the information. Identify attachments and ask permission before sending a large attachment. Be wary of viruses. Like I said previously, that viruses are there, so nobody wants to open the unsolicited or attachments which comes with a virus. Might damage the data of that organization or that individual. Memos should sound professional. A memo should cover only one main topic. Strive to make memos clear, complete, concise. Again, 6 C's. The memos, because since it's internal communication, maybe the promotion or introduction of that individual, any new individual into the business, or any information or any safety parameters related to the equipment, what to do's, what don'ts, within the organization, can be a memo. There are types of memos. Using printed forms of specific purposes is a time saver, which one type of information is frequent communicated. Standard memos are printed inter-office forms showing the writer's names and telephone number. Now, message memos and routing slips. Message memos are used to record phone and visitor information. Routing slips are used to channel message to specific people. What is the purpose of emails and memos? Again, it depends. Either it might fall to request, right? Any information, to inform, to report, to remind, to transmit, and to promote goodwill. Tone of the memo and email. The tone depends largely on the position of and the writer's relation to the recipient. Use a personal, pleasant, and somewhat informal tone, because since you're not communicating face to face, so your words would bring the tone, would set the tone of that email or a memo. Avoid contractions, but also do not use stilt language. Subject matter also determines tone of a memo or an email. So the more serious the topic, the more serious the tone should be. The formatting business letters, the appearance and content of a business letter make up the style of the letter. The style, the font size, the bold, italic, underline, bullet points. So these are very important. For example, the attention line is an optional part of the letter, so you can write attention office manager. So it has to go straight to the office manager. Business letter parts, we have salutation or greeting, right? dear Tracy, you know, colon without colon, right? Open punctuation or standard punctuation. Some writers and companies use a company name below the closing. So this is the formatting, you know, the standard way you write it down or you format your business letters. Business letter parts reference initials, right? The copy notation is shown with the abbreviation C, colon, right? C. The postscript is at the end of a letter using PS, you know. So anything which you come across is important to the reader and writing a business letter, always write it down and should know the format as well. Block letter format, all letter parts begin at the left margin except tables and other set of material. Modified block format differs, having the date line, closing, or writer's identification begin at the center page. So these are the formats, and the personal business letters are typed on a plain paper rather than a letterhead stationery. Whichever letter style is used, the letter must be formatted correctly. Stationery, again, if you're typing, if you're writing on a piece of paper that you have letterhead 16 pound, 20 pound, it's more technical, you know, specifications they're talking about. So one should, you know, have these information available handy, and then, you know, include those once writing it to the recipient or your client using letterhead. Envelopes as well, you know, these most common business envelopes are the number 10 envelopes, mailing notations, mailing address, return labels, right? You would be sending so that recipient has to reply it back along with the postage paid. It's containing where exactly you need to have these you know, envelopes. Begin typing the mailing address, avoid italics and script, use a block style, use a single spacing. Folding letters for envelopes, you know, folding is another art of you know, posting to the recipient. What they are saying, to fold a large letter for a large envelope, place the letter face up and fold the bottom third. So these are the technical points one has to remember, you know, for sending the letters to the client. Giving instructions, informative messages, related how to complete a task or how to carry out a procedure, follow these guidelines. So you come up with the bullet points or steps points to follow the instructions. Mainly, let's say if you are a student, the college has to send you the login instructions to your LMS or learning management systems, or asking you to do the certain steps in order to complete your assignments or your task. Remember that some people learn visually and others learn verbally, so follow these guidelines. So there are some people, like, I mean, if you send them instructions, you know, like write them instructions, and some needs visual, like pictures, you know, steps. So always differentiate, you know, your audience and follow appropriate channel. Writing request, be complete, be precise, reasonable, and courteous. You know, again, 6 C's of communication. Announcements, if you want to make an announcement, should be tested against the completeness of test. Events such as open houses, celebrations, special programs, and so on are frequently communicated with the announcements. Many organizations have a procedure books, right, with written guides and procedures the organization follows. Answering requests, be prompt, right, always, because do not wait your clients to get back to you or you get back to them. Always proactive. Be helpful, try to understand why the person is asking for help, and remember why the company wants to help. Again, sales-minded, if you are a part of a sales team, so look for possible ways to make a sale by responding quickly and being helpful. be complete, be positive. Again, 6 C's. Message approaches. The direct approach begins with the good news, followed by supporting information, and ending with the upbeat ending. So these are, and the persuasive, always remember the persuasive approach starts with an attention getter, and the following content builds first interest and then desire and finally action. So this is all about your writing memos, letters, and writing skills, applying those skills in your communications. Hope you have got some key points in order to be more effective writing emails, memos, and letters. So this is it. I'll see you in our next learning or next topic. Bye for now.